Till now on this channel, I've been covering insights from the Gita. And as you know, I've covered a wide spectrum of topics that relate to your daily contemporary life, with Gita becoming a guidebook to help you to get through the challenges. Now I'll take you a bit deeper into the Upanishads. And since Upanishads are complex scriptures, we will do so in the form of stories. These are simple and interesting stories that will help you understand spiritual topics that are of relevance. By dissecting these stories, we will arrive at their applicability to our daily life and continue on our quest for a purposeful living. Today we are exploring one of the most profound analogies in the Upanishads, or as they say, the Vedanta philosophy, and that is the analogy of the two birds. This ancient wisdom comes from the Mundaka Upanishad and offers a beautiful way to understand our spiritual journey. Let me tell you about the story first, and then we get to the spiritual meaning of it. The story is fascinating, and I hope you listen it to the end. Visualize a magnificent tree with countless branches loaded with fruits. On this tree sit two birds of similar nature, but very different qualities. One perches on a higher branch while the other sits below. Now the bird on the lower branch is quite active. Like any other bird, it hops from branch to branch, tasting different fruits. Some are sweet and pleasant, while others are bitter or sour. When it encounters a particularly bitter fruit, the bird becomes disappointed. It becomes quiet, and at times it looks up to the other bird sitting on the higher branch. Meanwhile, the bird on the higher branch remains perfectly calm. It doesn't taste any fruit, it just simply observes its companion sitting on the branch below, and it does so with silent awareness. The lower bird then thinks, there is something captivating about this higher bird. It is so peaceful and undisturbed while I keep hopping around the branches. Occasionally, the lower bird flies up to sit beside the higher one. And in these moments, it experiences profound peace. But eventually, its inherent nature pulls it down, and it's back hopping across the branches, tasting more fruits, both sweet and bitter. This cycle continues with the lower bird on occasions flying again up to sit beside the higher one and then coming back, hopping between the branches. The cycle goes on. But then something very interesting happens. With each return to the higher branch, the lower bird's nature gradually transforms. It slowly adopts the qualities of its peaceful companion. Eventually, the lower bird realizes something very astonishing, that there truly was never a separate lower bird at all. There always was only one higher bird, and the lower bird was just a manifestation of a restless bird. By now, I think you have understood the spiritual meaning of it, but let me explain it. It illustrates the spiritual seeker's journey, and that is what the story of the two birds is. The higher bird represents the divine, the supreme, the Ishvara, the Bhagavan, or whatever you want to call it, which is always peaceful, and it represents our core, where our nature is to be peaceful, remain unchanged, no matter what happens in this world. The lower bird represents this jiva, us, which is our individual self that moves through this world. It is composed of our physical body, the subtle body, and the consciousness. It is not like our core, which is like the higher bird. Now, as Jiva, we are both the doers and the experiencers. We perform actions and taste the fruits of those actions. Sometimes it is sweet, sometimes it is bitter. Now, when we experience a result of a negative action, or in other words, you could say a loss, or you get troubled by it, then that hurts you. And for many of the spiritual seekers, they go on a spiritual journey to find the balance. But through continued spiritual guidance, we eventually transform. Eventually we realize no matter what our actions are, no matter whether it's a pleasant or a bitter action, that when we are on a spiritual journey, we become like that higher bird, where the core within us is strong. It lacks any sort of disheartened, disappointment, dissatisfaction, but it's always at a different higher frequency where it can stay calm within. We realize that we are not the higher bird or the lower bird, but higher or lower is only a shift in consciousness. And the higher bird or the higher self was always within us. It never left us. We just didn't look up to that higher self. We didn't spend enough time in that higher self. We didn't spend enough time in that spiritual journey. So, as spiritual seekers, the message of the two birds and the story of the two birds is very simple. The lower bird, or this jiva, is nothing but a restless manifestation of that real you, that supreme self, that core of you, which is blessed with all the health and happiness, which is blessed with undisturbing peace. May the story of these birds inspire you on your own spiritual journey. Stay healthy, stay blessed. I'll talk to you soon.